Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I am Dustin and we are taking a look at Nikola, NKLA. And this is one of the first times that we've been looking at Nikola in the most recent past, especially considering that you've seen EVs run, you've seen NIO run, you've seen Lucid run, we've seen Tesla run. It's been very interesting that Nikola hasn't been part of this. Now, we're going to look at the daily behavior of what we saw today because it was one of the most active stocks in all of Yahoo Finance, and I can already see why. We're looking here at the price. We see that it made it to $3.12. Yesterday it closed at $2.67. This thing was up 16.85% in one day. Over 5 days, this thing is up 53%. 15 days, it's up 120%. Okay, so things have definitely changed in the world of Nikola. And I want to say that the reason why I at least want to believe in this move a little bit, even though we still don't have a go long signal in the short term, intermediate term, or longer term, is because we saw a complete change in the 6-month rolling return. You notice how in this column BM, it's been red the entire time. For the first time since whenever they went red from the last time, it is now flipped to bullish over the rolling 6-month return. That is a big deal, especially if you're a general trend follower. Now, we look like we might be getting close to, if we're not already at, the highest price of the past 9 months, which is kind of impressive to see. We do not yet have a signal which says go long. We do have what will be flipping to a bullish on the intermediate term, or on the short term, intermediate term, and longer term on the trend. And then we look at the rolling sentiment. We do see that we are probably at a very overbought level right now, which makes a lot of sense considering that we started at 60 cents in June and we are now up at $2, $3.12. That is quite the move, but I still believe because when we actually, let's do a deeper dive on this overall chart. When we're looking at just the way that it's set up on the weekly, we can see that the weekly here for Nikola has essentially been in a nosedive ever since 2020. It's kind of fascinating that this stock, I didn't even really think about it, this stock went through all of its hype early in the 2020 COVID cycle. It did everything that it was going to do in terms of price movement by the middle of June of 2020. And then it's been nothing but downward ever since. This has probably been the greatest short of the past 3 years that nobody wants to talk about. And I wonder if that's exactly what happened in the past few weeks. That we've had a gigantic series of short squeezes because people were so leveraged short that when things turned, their fortunes turned, some catalyst turned, maybe just sentiment in the market turned, they were not ready and they were completely caught off sides. And that is a tough situation to be in. We're looking here at the daily sentiment indicator for Nikola. We do see that we're extremely overbought. Now, that doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to fall in price, but it just means that bullish sentiment has completely reversed from where we were here in June when it was at 37% bullish, or back in March when it was at 35% bullish, which are very low numbers for this kind of indicator. Now we see that we are up at 66%, but it doesn't look like the prices are necessarily going to stop. We can see that we've gotten recent volume as we have completely essentially bottomed and come back up. And you can see that this is the period of time in June where we saw what was probably the true bottom, where we got a gigantic capitulation of a bunch of volume, probably resulting in like a big drop to a certain extent. And then when fortunes changed, actually this is when fortunes changed, and we see that the moves have been aggressive and supported by volume. And let's look at the volatility here because the volatility is really going to tell the story. The red letter or the red bar is the volatility. The blue bar is the price correlation. So what you're saying is that right now the volatility is rising while the price correlation is elevated. It's not necessarily rising at the moment because I judge it based off the 15-day moving average here in the price correlation, which is this red moving line. The blue bar is now back below the red moving line, which does let me believe, at least for a little bit here, that what we're looking at is kind of a fallback in terms of the price correlation, which you would expect because the weekly is probably going to pull it in that direction anyways. It's kind of nice to see that this is setting up that way. The one thing we'd love to see, very similar. So this is the weekly volatility of Nikola. You can see that it started to roll over in the middle and end of June. We could fall very, very far. That thing is a zero bound, so it could fall all the way down to 0 or 0.001 or whatever. But what we're seeing on the daily is it's starting to set up with what the weekly looks like. We would like to see it kind of roll over, similar to what it did here. It looks like in April, where it starts to roll over, and then we'd want to see the blue line also roll over because then that means that the price is going to start moving upwards to sideways, but at least like really slowly, which is what you'd expect when you think about a kind of move that Nikola has been in over the past 2 months. You want to consolidate these gains, right? Like that's the only thing that you're thinking about of why would I want to pay attention to Nikola right now is because once it starts to consolidate the gains, you could start to see a general trend, which again, I mean, I'm not saying this thing is going back up to whatever price it got to of 65.90, but this thing could very easily get back up to 25, and from the level where you are right now, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of hype, and it's going to take a very good general economy, macro and micro, supply chains to work, countries to not get into wars, tariffs to probably be overturned, whatever it is. But right now, we can see that Nikola has definitely changed its fortunes. And on the ultra fast sentiment, even on the weekly, even on the weekly, I would say that this is the first time that we've seen since 2020 back here where we're actually seeing the resumption of demand on a longer term time frame for Nikola. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long or are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? And before you go, do yourself a favor. Subscribe to the New High newsletter. We give you 25 stocks breaking out every single week on Sundays for free. Talk to you soon.